Everybody, happy Thursday evening. We are here talking about Open Workout 24.2. And last week, as you know, we went through with kind of a what-if scenario. And for 24.1, some of us performed, some of us didn't. But this week, we have a nice twist because one of us has already done it, and It's not me. So, Jason, congratulations. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, where you were, who you did it with, and how did it turn out?
It was I was invited to come out to Colorado. So back home. I mean, Alabama is home now, but Colorado was home for 45 years. So
gotta call it home.
Yeah, got to come out here and actually do the workout at CrossFit Arvada, which was where I started CrossFit, of all places.
Oh wow!
So my first CrossFit Open was here, and 10 years later, I'm doing the CrossFit Open here. So that was pretty special. It was a Wheel WOD. They've been doing their own CrossFit announcements about an hour after the main CrossFit announcement. And last year they had, I believe they had a teenager. I can't remember if they had masters, but they do the Wheel WOD announcement, and then they have adaptive athletes perform, and then they had age group athletes. So this week, I was fortunate enough to be able to compete with Jason Lucanon, who's another masters athlete in my age category. He competes at a high level. He's been to the games, competes at a high level at Legends. So he was able to give me a good push. And we had a 14, 15-year-old teenager with us, and he's just a great kid, just an awesome kid. Excellent. To come out here and do this one. The announcement was great. Like, I actually listened to the announcement while I was driving down to the gym here. And I was like, okay, it's rowing, deadlifts, and double unders. That's simple. I mean, I thought it'd be heavy. Maybe we're going to do a clean or something crazy today. And it's
something below parallel.
Nope.
Nothing.
It is 100% simplicity on this one. And of course, watching Justin Medeiros, Colton Mertens do it, like 10 rounds. Okay. So they're the best in the world at this stuff. What's this really going to be like? And it was hard to gauge. Really, it was a little bit hard. I mean, this is a pacing workout because it's 20 minutes long. There's danger zones. If you go out hot on the row, you're probably going to die. So we all know these things. Like we have enough experience to do that.
Correct.
So the reality is that it is quite painful. Right? It's a doozy, man. It hurts. So
my fitness level is not at your fitness level. So it's gonna hurt relative, but it'll hurt.
It'll hurt, yeah. And so on the first row, 3, 2, 1, go. You start pulling the rower, and you feel so good.
And for the recap, it is a 20-minute AMRAP. 20-minute AMRAP. It is a 300-meter row. It is 10 deadlifts at RX weights are 185 and 125, and 50 double unders. So for 20 minutes, everybody's going to work for 20 minutes. Simple. That's the beautiful part. Okay.
It's beautiful. It's elegant. It's a nice pairing of movements. Every movement, you get pretty tired of doing each movement as you work your way through this over and over and over again. Round 1 is so nice. You just feel so good. You're like, I am going to be just fine through this whole thing as you go through round 1. As you start the row on round 2, you're like, oh, this pace is it's not as easy. As a side note, if you're watching the video, you'll see that I'm in a rental car. I'm doing the podcast from the rental car, and it's snowing outside. So that's why the lighting is so nice. I've got the rental car dome light here. We've got the beautiful snow outside. Get me back home to Alabama.
For once, I don't have that bad of weather. I think it's 45 and cold here. How was your warm up? Did you go through your regular warm up? I mean, pretty standard. I mean, every prep video out there right now has tips and tricks for
all these tips and tricks. It's another hinging workout in the sense that last week we had hinging with burpees and then the dumbbell snatch. Here we've got rowing and deadlifts. So we want to prime those hinging muscles, obviously. Some of the best ways to prime those hinging muscles is rowing and empty bar deadlifts. So, what was nice is I didn't have to overly warm up for squatting below parallel. I didn't have to really truly work on my, opening up my ankles and my hips. So it was one of those where just doing the movements and building up some practice and some stimulation for the muscle groups that you'll be using for those movements was kind of the right way to do it. So I would say your general standard warm up is fine, and then you just got to get on a rower and do a few rounds of rowing and deadlifts, and then some single unders, and then rowing, deadlifts, double unders, and go through that 3, 4, 5 times, adding weight to the barbell, getting more complex from single unders to double unders. I know that for me, on workouts like this, I generally, if it's training, it's like, hey guys, all right, 3, 2, 1, go. The first round is kind of the warm up round, and then you're kind of into it. Yeah. You don't want that on the open, right?
Okay. Yep,
you want to be warm. For me, I need to get 100, 150 double unders under my belt before I go into something like this, so that I can hit the ground unbroken on 50s. In this workout, I want to be well primed. So I did focus on that as much as I could, given the circumstances of a live feed and all of that.
Right.
And honestly, as far as like working your way through this workout, there's a ton of transitions.
Mm-hmm.
Think out of the rower to the deadlift, from the deadlift to the jump rope to the rower again.
Back to the rower, right?
Every round. So it's one of those workouts where you probably don't strap yourself in all the way on the rower, so you can slide your feet in and out. We don't practice that enough. I will make a mental note of that we don't practice loose strap rowing very often, because it's kind of different. It's not your usual, but it's not terrible. I'll say that around the 15, 16 minute mark, my ankles, my shins were getting tired from being loose in the rower. So I started just tightening it down and loosening it, because I needed the extra breath anyway. It was fine. Early on, it's not necessary. Deadlifts, one of my thoughts on the deadlifts, if you are proficient at deadlifts, you can go unbroken.
Okay.
If you're proficient at double unders, you can go unbroken on the deadlifts. If you struggle with either of those two movements, like if a 185-pound deadlift is a little steep, you're probably going to want to break it up from the get-go, regardless of how you feel.
6'4", 5'5",
6'4",
something like that.
Yeah, 4-3-3. Those are all totally fine.
Probably
you can
no
drop
more
a barbell
than 2
and break
breaks.
it up. Yes.
Yep.
And also, if you're not proficient at double unders, you don't really want to spike your heart rate with 10 unbroken deadlifts and then go to the double unders and get punched in the face from your exertion. So I would say that if you are not relaxed in your double unders, you're not confident, I would just break it up 6 and 4 on the deadlifts, just to keep that heart rate kind of under control.
Mm-hmm.
Then get onto those double unders.
Stand up, take a breath.
Yep.
Back over.
You're going to be quicker at resetting for a deadlift than you are when you trip, have to step over the rope, reset on the double unders. So if you need a little extra on the double unders, I would take some of that off of the deadlift. It might cost you 2 seconds, but it might save you 10 seconds on the doubles.
Okay. Point of performance.
On doubles, you gotta I'll tell you this, and you'll know what I mean, Rick. Go before you're ready.
Yep. You're never going to settle in and have your breath perfect. Yeah.
You're never going to feel good when you're starting your doubles, except maybe round 1, maybe round 2, you may still be okay. But by round 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you are pretty tired getting off the row and the deadlifts, and you don't want to pick up the rope. You don't want to start double unders. But if you just set like that, target in your head, like I'm just gonna chip off like 20 double unders. If I need a break, I'll take a break. I'm just gonna get 20 out of the way. Mm-hmm. By the time you're into your teens, you're like, okay, I'm okay. I can do these.
Yep.
And you manage your way through. I had one round where I tripped a few times. Like I tripped on 15 and then 18 and then 19. You just take a break.
Oh, and you're like,
take a deep breath, settle in, and just go.
This is my one round.
Yeah,
everybody has a round like that.
Yeah, everybody has a round like that where you just get a little bit, little off balance, little out of rhythm. And it is I will say, although last week I did repeat last week's workout, it's a different style workout. This is a one and done effort because it's very hard. Okay. After the 15-minute mark, it becomes very, very, very challenging. I think there were some, I hung out at the gym to work on a video, and I watched some people at the gym do the workout as well afterwards. They came up afterwards and told me, like, yeah, man, at the 15, 16-minute mark, oof, it got really tough. So I think that's something that we're all going to experience is that, I mean, at the 9-minute mark, Rick, I looked at the clock and I was like, oh, Oh
I heard
no.
your interview. Oh, if you're saying
Yeah.
that at
Oh
9
no.
minutes,
Yeah.
well,
Oh no.
that was a
I could
question for
hold
you
it.
is
Yeah.
clock management.
Yeah.
Were you staring at a clock the whole
Oh
time?
yeah.
Okay.
I glanced at the
So
clock. I
you
was
okay.
glancing.
And so you had that feeling of, okay, you know what your breath cadence is like,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
on the rower at that point, and you're like, oh boy, we're 5
It's
minutes in,
getting
or
worse.
we're
It just
10
it
minutes in.
builds it builds and builds and builds and builds on this workout. It's I wish I could say it's one of those workouts where you just kind of grind from the start to the finish, but it's
Hmm.
more like a tractor pull. You know, have you ever seen those tractor
Yep.
pulls in like a
The weight slides, and you just
yeah,
get
yeah,
slower and slower
you
and
do. You just get
slower. Yeah.
a little slower,
Yep.
and there is going to be some unicorns in every age group, of course, that can just
That's fine.
that have massive capacities. This is one of those workouts where the deadlifts get much harder the further you go.
Hmm.
Everything just cumulatively, like I didn't feel it in my lungs tremendously, although I'm at altitude now, and I'm not
I was
acclimated to
I
this.
was going to ask you about that
Yeah,
because Jason had the advantage because
yeah,
he's there, right? Yeah.
he
So he
is.
trains at altitude,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
have historically for years, and made it a point in the previous
yes,
couple of summers to go back. But this is a
yeah.
within 24 hours. You have not acclimated yourself. So
No, no.
how did that feel? Because I don't
I
know if
was
my lungs would explode. I have no idea
I was
what that'd be
worried.
like.
I was worried about it. I don't know if it. The only way I would truly know is if I was to retest this in a week in
Hmm.
at
In
lower
Birmingham.
altitude.
Yep. Yep.
Don't want to do that. It
Yep.
was fairly unpleasant, so I don't intend to do that again unless it's demanded of me or something. Um, but it was challenging. That was challenging. But I was going to say I didn't feel it didn't feel overwhelming in my breath. Where I felt overwhelmed was just when I went down to pick up the rope a couple of times towards those last rounds. If someone said, "Hey, Jason, you could lay down and take a nap," it'd be fine. I probably would have.
Oh.
You just want to lay down.
Mm.
It's funny. It's a really funny, and we all know those workouts where
Hmm.
it almost like for some of us in the sets of 9 on the last workout, you get on the ground on the burpee and you just kind of want to stay there. It's
Hmm.
kind of like that. You go down to pick up the rope, but you don't really want to, and then you stand up and you feel the heaviness of your body because
Hmm.
of the fatigue. So maybe some lack of oxygen. Maybe that's 1% of it. I think the other 99% is that you are going at a pretty blistering pace with a
Okay.
high heart rate for 20 minutes.
Okay.
You can of
But
course go just slower. You can go
yeah, I was
slower
going to
the
say,
whole
not
time.
everybody is going to be able to
Yeah.
hold that pace. So you're going to have to find a pace that
Yes.
best fits your capacity. I think that's
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if it's a break strategy
Yep.
or just you can't redline too early. I mean,
No, you can't.
because the clock is going to keep ticking. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful
It's
part,
the
I
clock is
think.
going to keep ticking, and you're going to feel so good in those early rounds, and um, that can be a trap. I mean,
Hmm.
and I'd say there's always these traps in these types of workouts, like on the 21s going out too hot last week. That was a
Hmm.
trap. So if you
Yep.
go out too hot, you're probably going to die on the 15s. This week, you're going to feel so good on the first round or two that you're just
Right.
deceived.
Don't.
And
So
even
hold
I'm
back.
like, okay, this isn't that bad. This is going to be okay. And then very, very,
Mm.
it's not quickly because it's 20 minutes, but 10 minutes later, 15 minutes after that first round, you are, you're in a tough zone. And everyone's going to say this in their videos.
Hmm.
This is a pacing workout. Just like last week, you kind of had to have a pacing strategy. This is a pacing workout.
Hmm.
You want to have an idea on the row in particular, what pace you want to hold. And I think it's somewhere around your 2K pace plus 5 to 10
Okay.
seconds. Something like
Okay.
that, I think
Okay.
is
So you're
fairly
not ripping the
sustainable.
handle off
Mm-mm.
like I think we saw
No.
Justin and
You know,
Colton do. Though, well, but their
but
capacities are that
their
much greater.
capacity, I would think that their 2K pace is probably in the upper 130s, maybe 140 would be their
Hmm.
5K, their 2K pace. If I said 5K before, I meant 2K.
No, yeah, you
Um,
2K, right?
yeah, so 2K pace. If their 2K pace is 140 or just faster than that, they were holding 145s. So there's the elite of the
Okay.
elites doing 2K plus 5. We
It's
are at a different age bracket,
Yep.
and our overall audience is probably going to be like, hey, you're 2K plus again, like maybe 5 to 8 seconds, depending on how well trained you feel on the rower. Is that fair?
Yep, that's
Yeah.
fair for everybody. With I had a couple thoughts here. With the huge number of reps that are in this workout, I think the leaderboard will be a little bit more spread out. Remember, every second last week was worth a lot of points. A lot of points on the leaderboard is, I guess, the best way to say that. Here, the sheer volume of your total is going to certainly spread people out. So, again, if you're finish with a row and you know you only have a minute left, you have to get through those deadlifts, because the point accumulation on a double under is so much more valuable than the point accumulation on picking the barbell up 3 more times or something like that. So
that's correct.
That's where you want to be there.
And where the rubber meets the road on this workout is in those last 3 or 4 minutes. You don't want to, but you can keep pushing for those last 3 or 4 minutes. And like you said, every single extra rep is worth dozens of spots. Or so I got on the rower just before the 19-minute mark and was like, I was almost aggravated, Rick. I was
because
like,
you start doing mental math.
Yeah. I'm going to have to send it on this row. So I was rowing around 140 or sub 140 on that last row to just knowing that every 10 meters was another point or whatever, another rep. And I know that everyone else that's, again, I'm being competitive in my head. I know everyone else that's on the rower with me around the world doing this workout, they're going to send it. So
you need to too.
Yeah. And I'm going to just peel off this rower when I'm done and lay on the floor. And it was amazing to lay on the floor. It felt very good.
Great.
And that's when I felt I couldn't move for a good minute. And then I peeled myself up, and then we're onward and upward on to the next thing.
We noticed that Kevin had the adaptive athletes interviewed first because they had some time to recover, and they allowed you guys to catch your breath. You and Jason have had quite a few battles over the years now. I know starting in 2021, he got, you guys went head to head, and then you've had some legendary battles at Legends over the years. So it was fun to have a familiar face, couple lanes over.
Really was.
Nice to compete against him again.
For me, given our history, we couldn't have picked a better person to race against in an open effort like this. He is a phenomenal athlete. He's given me a run for my money every year at Legends, or at least the last 2 years, significant runs. And in 2021, he was at the games, and he gave a good push at the games, and is a tremendous athlete. So he's also a sneaky one. He can
You've described him as such.
He's got good capacity. So at any point, I felt like there was a chance that he's just going to turn on the jets and fly by me. So I was running scared, and I love running scared in a workout like that. I may have came out a little strong. So if I were to redo it, if I were to go back and tell myself, I would say, man, just a little calmer in those first couple of rounds, a little bit. Maybe I could have taken 5-10 seconds longer in those earlier rounds, so that by round 6, 7, and 8, I was a little less sluggish. But we're in it. You're in it. Once you're in it, you got to play the hand that you've dealt yourself in this workout. The other thing that was really cool, Rick, is watching the adaptive athletes. They got to go first.
Yep.
And I got to tell our audience, anyone who's listening, if you can tune in to the WheelWAD announcement, give them some views. In fact, you can go to the WheelWAD YouTube page now and view it. They are a phenomenal group of athletes. And the thing that was most impressive, well, 2 things were impressive. One, the athletes are phenomenal. The 3 athletes that went today, I don't know the verbiage. I don't know the terminology.
There's many divisions.
They were 3 distinct divisions. Single leg, wheelchair, and then major muscular, movement pattern kind of thing. And so watching them suffer for 20 minutes, doing remarkable work. Like, just think. I mean, just imagine deadlifting on one leg and rowing with one leg and jumping with one.
I watched the deadlift on one leg. I was like,
the fatigue.
I have no reason to complain about feeling tired through a workout. I'm like, how is she balancing? That
it's remarkable.
Yes,
I would be on my ass a dozen times.
Well,
You know,
I was going to ask you the collaboration with Wheelwad
yeah,
was fantastic. I mean,
really cool.
as you said, hey, go
Yeah.
subscribe to their channel,
Yes.
take a look, pay a little bit more attention. But this is something that I think with branching off from HQ and giving each of the teens, the adaptives, and the age
Yeah.
group, the masters, our own division, allows
Yeah.
for more collaboration. And I know
Yes.
Joe has said and Bob has said with us in the past is they're in constant contact, and I think there's a lot
Yeah.
going on
Yeah.
that we don't know about that maybe you got a little bit more of even an insight
Yeah.
today.
I agree. I think there's a lot of opportunities in the future. The leadership of each one of the organizations or divisions, they talk a lot, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that the collaboration um, can be really good for the sport overall. I think there's some really promising things in the future. I was going to say the second thing that was super impressive was, Kevin Ogar
Mm-hmm.
does that programming for the Wheelwad for the adaptive athletes. He's known the open announcement for months. He's known what the workout is. He said it's the worst curse you can have is
Oh,
knowing an open
interesting.
announcement
Okay,
and being
because
afraid
yeah.
of. And so what he does, he will then months in advance translate the open workout for each
Yeah,
individual adaptive division. And
correct.
what I love about that is he is programming. What we got to watch was 3 different divisions in the adaptive world compete there, and each one of them had the perfect stimulus for their particular adaptation, if I use
Mm-hmm.
that word.
Mm-hmm.
um, and it was amazing, like when you're dealing with like neuromuscular, what is the right stimulus for this workout for
Mm-hmm.
someone that's navigating that. And we got to watch that, and it was remarkable. Same thing with
Yeah.
lower extremity or upper extremity or any of these things. Their ability to translate an open workout and have it be sufficient and broad and appropriate for each one of those divisions is something that was incredibly impressive. So
And that can't be
yeah,
done on the fly. So
no,
to give him this time for each
yes,
of those takes probably some thought, some
oh yeah,
trial and error on paper for
yep,
him to
yep,
say what's right for each of the divisions.
yep,
And because at what was it, 3 o'clock Eastern today, when that
yeah.
gets announced, he's not out there with a scratch pad going,
No,
I
I
think
asked him
this will
about that.
work. No, no. Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm really glad HQ does that.
yeah,
If I'm not mistaken, he's been a seminar staff, a red
yeah,
shirt for quite a while. Yeah. So
yes. So
in with them.
it was really cool to be able to see the behind the scenes and that, see what all they're doing.
Hmm.
Talk with the adaptive athletes. We've all crossed paths at the games historically, so we recognize each other, we know each other, and
Right.
um, we were talking afterwards about one of the bummers about this particular year is that we won't cross paths at the games with
Right.
them, and it's such a treat to do that. But we believe and hope that in the future there will be some opportunities to do some stuff in conjunction with adaptive athletes, so that we all get to experience and be exposed to
Hmm.
what they do and the remarkable things they do. So
Each other.
tune in, take a look at that live announcement. It's really really cool, and then it's 2 hours long, so not maybe it's an hour long. But the first part is the
Something like that.
adaptive athletes.
Right.
Second part is the age group athletes, and I'll also have the age group athletes in a YouTube video. I'm uploading strategy, all that kind of stuff, but definitely give them a subscribe. It's worth it.
Yep. Absolutely. They have a new one in me too.
Yeah,
Any last thoughts before? Because I know I don't
yeah,
want you to get snowed in there.
yeah.
For
Right,
once, I
right.
can say that. Thank gosh.
Yeah, we want to make this one
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
Um, my last thoughts on this workout is I think Jason Lucanon actually during his post workout interview said, try to imagine what the last 5 minutes of this workout will be pacing wise. I mean,
Hmm.
imagine running, I don't know, imagine running a 5K or running a 5K, then having to do 3 rounds of this after that. You're going to have all this pent up fatigue. You're going to be truly exhausted. What pace can you hold on the rower when you're super fatigued,
Right.
deadlift and double unders, and actually try to reverse engineer that? So start more like that.
Okay.
This thing really launches. It really builds over time, but I think you can flatten that uphill climb in this workout a little bit by really trying to find that pace. If you think about it, you can get 8 rounds done if you do 1 round every 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay.
That's 8 rounds.
Yep.
So I would have said before doing it, Rick, this is what's fun about having done it. I would have said around every 230 is no problem. Having completed 8 rounds plus 30, I would say 8 rounds is actually quite challenging. And a 2 minute and 30 second per round pace is fairly aggressive. It's fairly aggressive.
Because we saw what the pace was with the elites.
Yep.
And we all know our practice of discounting appropriately for the rest of us. But then having you and Jason do it.
Yeah. Yep.
Good luck.
Yeah, 230 is tough. I mean, I of course I was able to maintain that. I had a minute to get on the rower at the end and just send it. But I think if you are in that 230 to 3 minute per round pace, it's gonna hurt. You're gonna have a great score. You know, that's gonna be a top 25% score right there. There are definitely gonna be some absolute, ninjas out there at these movements that just have crazy capacity and will just crush it.
Just like there were last week.
Yep. Just like there were last week. But really, you can do this workout with a good pace. And again, everybody at the 15, 16 minute mark wants to die. So when you feel it, because you will, everyone does.
Good.
When you feel it, just know, hey, it's not you. It's everybody's feeling it. It's okay.
Is that a way to leave it with us?
I think that's a way to leave it. It's good enough.
Boy, you're gonna want to die. Yeah. No.
you're gonna want to die.
This is the open. This is 24.2. This is what we signed up for. This is the beginning of the process.
Yeah.
We're enjoying it. And congratulations to you on being done. There's a lot of folks out here that are dreading looking at the scorecard and going, "Oh, brother, here we go."
Gotta do it.
But we got to do it. Yep.
When are you doing it, Rick? You doing it tomorrow morning?
I don't know yet. I might be able to do it tomorrow morning. Tomorrow midday doesn't work, and then if not, I have to push into Saturday. This is certainly a one and done. There's no doubt.
Oh, it's a one and done.
I was a one and done last week too. Wasn't happy, but I was a one and done. So,
Rick, you're gonna love it. You're gonna do great.
We're gonna have fun.
I can't wait to hear about it.
Excellent. Well, thanks for sharing a little bit with us. This was
another week down.
Good to hear. You got it.
We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to the Masters in Motion podcast. We'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older.